Good morning and welcome. Wherever you are right now, whatever this past week has carried, take a breath and let your shoulders soften. This Sunday is not just another day on the calendar. It is an invitation. God has been waiting for this quiet moment with you, not to add pressure, but to remind you that you are seen, you are loved, and you are not alone in whatever you are carrying. Maybe you have been tired in ways that sleep cannot fix. Maybe your heart has been heavy, wondering if things will ever change. I want to gently remind you today that His mercies are new every morning, and that includes this one. You have not missed your chance. You have not gone too far. This Sunday, God is meeting you exactly where you are, not where you think you should be. There is hope waiting for you today, quiet and steady. The kind of hope that does not shout, but stays. Scripture tells us that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength, and that renewal begins in moments like this, when you simply show up and open your heart. Let this be the day you stop striving and start trusting again, slowly, honestly, without pretending. So I speak a blessing over you this morning. May your home be covered in peace. May your body find rest and your mind find quiet. May everything that felt broken this week begin gently to be restored. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and He is close to you right now, closer than your next breath. Let's pause together and simply talk to Him. Lord, thank you for this new day and this new mercy. Quiet our anxious thoughts and remind us that we belong to you. Heal what needs healing, restore what needs restoring, and walk with us through this Sunday and every day after. We surrender our worries into your hands, trusting that you are already working. In your gentle presence we rest. Amen. Come close for a moment. Let your hands rest, let your breathing slow, and let your mind stop running for just a little while. I know how heavy this week may have been. I know there were mornings when getting out of bed felt like carrying something the world could not see. I know there were nights when the silence felt too loud, when your thoughts kept circling back to the same worries, the same fears, the same unanswered questions. I want you to know, gently and honestly, that none of that has gone unnoticed. Not by Him. Not for a single moment. There is a kind of tiredness that has nothing to do with sleep. It settles into the soul. It shows up in the way you sigh before you even speak, in the way you smile but your eyes stay tired, in the way you keep moving because stopping feels too dangerous. If that is you this morning, I am not here to rush you past that feeling. I am not here to tell you to simply feel better because it is Sunday. I am here to remind you slowly and sincerely that you are allowed to be tired, you are allowed to be human, and even here, even now, you are held. Scripture tells us that He is close to the brokenhearted, and that word close is not distant or symbolic. It is near, it is present. It means that in the quiet corners of your life, where no one else has seen the weight you carry, He has been there all along. Not watching from far away, not waiting for you to fix yourself first, but near, gently near, the way a friend sits beside you without needing to say anything at all. Comfort like that does not shout. It does not perform. It simply stays. Maybe you have been carrying disappointment. Maybe things did not turn out the way you hoped, a relationship that ended, a door that closed, a dream that seems to have quietly slipped away while you were busy trying to hold everything else together. I want you to hear this gently today. There is no shame in grieving what did not happen. There is no shame in still hoping, even when hope has been disappointed before. Comfort does not mean pretending the pain is not real. Comfort means being held in the middle of it, without needing to explain it all away. Some of you are carrying worry for people you love, a child who has wandered, a marriage that feels strained, a parent whose health is fading, a friend who is drifting further from faith with every passing month. You lie awake sometimes, turning it over and over, wondering what more you could do, wondering if your prayers are even being heard. I want to remind you softly this morning that your prayers have never gone unheard. Not one. Not even the ones you whispered through tears, not even the ones you could not find words for, the ones that were just a sigh, just a breath, just a silent cry from somewhere deep inside you. There is a verse that says His mercies are new every morning, and I want you to sit with that phrase for a moment rather than rushing past it. New. Not recycled from yesterday's failures. Not measured out according to how well you performed this past week. New, fresh, given freely, regardless of what Monday looked like or how far Friday felt from where you wanted to be. This morning is not a continuation of your mistakes. It is a fresh mercy, quietly waiting for you to receive it. I think sometimes we carry guilt into these quiet moments, thinking that comfort is only for those who have earned it, only for those who have prayed enough, read enough, done enough. But comfort was never meant to be a reward. It was meant to be a gift, offered freely to the weary, the weak, the ones who feel like they are barely holding on. If that is you this morning, you are not being overlooked. You are exactly who this moment was prepared for. Let your mind go, just for a while, to the image of someone sitting quietly beside a person who is hurting, not offering solutions, not offering advice, just staying, just being present. That is what this moment can be. You do not have to have the right words this morning. You do not have to feel spiritually strong or emotionally steady. You simply have to be willing to sit still long enough to notice that you are not alone in this room, in this house, in this moment. There is a gentle stillness in knowing that someone sees you fully, the parts you show the world and the parts you hide, even from the people closest to you, and loves you the same either way. That is the kind of comfort being offered to you this morning. Not a comfort based on your performance, but one rooted in who He is, unchanging, patient and present, even when you feel far away from Him. Maybe your body is carrying stress that words cannot fully explain, tension in your shoulders, a tightness in your chest, the kind of exhaustion that no amount of rest seems to touch. I want to speak gently into that this morning and remind you that rest is not weakness. Stopping is not failure. There is permission here, quiet permission, to simply be still and let your soul catch up with everything your body has been carrying. Think for a moment about how many mornings you have woken up already tired, already bracing yourself for what the day might demand. This morning can be different, not because the circumstances have changed, but because you are choosing, even for a few minutes, to receive comfort instead of carrying everything alone. That decision alone, small as it may seem, is sacred. It is an act of trust, even when trust feels difficult. Some of you are grieving losses that others do not fully understand. The loss of a season, the loss of a relationship, the loss of someone who is no longer here, or simply the loss of who you used to be before life became this complicated. I want you to know that grief is not a lack of faith. It is love with nowhere left to go. And in this quiet moment, that love, that grief, is being gently held. There is comfort in knowing that you do not have to explain yourself this morning. You do not have to justify why you are tired, why you are anxious, why you have questions you have never said out loud. This is a safe place to simply exist as you are, unfinished, uncertain, and still deeply loved. That love has never depended on you having it all figured out. Let your shoulders drop just a little more. Let the tightness in your jaw soften. Let whatever you have been holding on to so tightly loosen, even slightly, in this moment. You do not have to solve everything today. You do not have to carry the weight of the entire week before it has even begun. Right now, in this quiet space, comfort is not something you have to chase after. It is already here, patiently waiting for you to notice it, to receive it, to let it settle gently into the tired places of your heart. There is something quietly powerful about a new morning. Not because the circumstances have changed, not because yesterday's struggles have disappeared, but because with each sunrise, something in the spirit is given permission to begin again. I want to speak to you gently about this today, because so many of us carry yesterday into today without even realizing it. Dragging old disappointments, old failures, old versions of ourselves into a morning that was never meant to hold them. His mercies are new every morning. That is not just a beautiful phrase to repeat quietly to yourself. It is a promise, steady and unchanging, that no matter how far you feel you have fallen, no matter how many times you have tried and failed, this morning carries a mercy that has never been used before. It was not shaped by your mistakes. It was not measured out according to how well you handled things yesterday. It is fresh, untouched, given freely, simply because His faithfulness is great. I think we underestimate how much courage it takes to believe that today can be different. It is easy to wake up already defeated, already assuming the same patterns will repeat, the same struggles will resurface, the same doors will stay closed. But encouragement is not about pretending the past did not happen. It is about trusting that the past does not have the final word over what this new day can become. Maybe you have been telling yourself quietly that you are too far behind, too broken, too tired to keep believing. I want to gently remind you this morning that encouragement is not about having everything figured out. It is about taking one small step forward, even when your legs feel weak, even when your faith feels thin. You do not need a mountain of strength today. You simply need enough to open your eyes, take a breath, and choose to believe again. There is a quiet strength found in those who wait patiently, in those who do not rush ahead of God's timing, but choose instead to trust the process, even when it feels slow. Scripture reminds us that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength, and that renewal is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it looks like simply getting through the day without giving up. Sometimes it looks like showing up again after a hard week, tired but still willing to try. I want you to consider for a moment how far you have already come. Think about the mornings you did not think you would survive, the seasons that felt impossible, the moments you were certain you could not keep going. And yet here you are, still breathing, still present, still willing to listen to these words this morning. That in itself is evidence of a strength that was never fully your own, a strength that has been quietly carrying you all along. Encouragement does not mean ignoring your struggles. It means looking at them honestly while still choosing to believe that they are not permanent. Whatever weighed on you yesterday does not have to define today. Whatever mistake you made last week does not disqualify you from beginning again this morning. Grace has a way of meeting us exactly where we are, without demanding that we clean ourselves up first. I think of how easy it is to compare our journey to someone else's, to look at where others seem to be and feel as though we are falling behind. But your story is not meant to follow someone else's timeline. Your breakthrough will not look identical to anyone else's. Encouragement today is not about catching up. It is about trusting that the process you are in, slow as it may feel, is shaping something in you that could not be formed any other way. There will be days when progress feels invisible, when you pray and it seems like nothing shifts, when you try to do better and still stumble in the same places. I want to remind you gently that growth is rarely a straight line. It winds, it circles back, it tests patience before it produces change. But every small effort, every quiet decision to keep believing is being noticed, even when it feels unseen. Perhaps you have been carrying disappointment from unanswered prayers, wondering if your faith is strong enough, wondering if you are somehow doing this wrong. I want to speak into that softly this morning. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is choosing to keep showing up even when doubt is present. It is whispering, "I still believe," even when your circumstances have not yet changed. That whisper matters more than you know. There is encouragement in remembering that you are not meant to carry this alone. So often we exhaust ourselves trying to hold everything together, believing that strength means never needing help, never admitting struggle. But true strength is often found in surrender, in laying down the pressure to have it all figured out, and trusting that you are being carried even in the moments you feel like you are barely standing. I want you to think about the people around you who have quietly encouraged you without even realizing the impact of their words. A friend who checked in at the right moment, a stranger who smiled when you needed it most, a small answered prayer that reminded you that you had not been forgotten. These moments are not coincidences. They are gentle reminders that you are being watched over, even in seasons that felt silent. Encouragement also means giving yourself permission to rest without guilt. So many of us tie our worth to productivity, believing that if we are not constantly striving, we are somehow failing. But rest is not the opposite of faith. Sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is stop, breathe, and trust that everything does not depend solely on your effort. You are allowed to slow down without losing your place in this journey. I want to remind you today that setbacks are not the same as failure. A setback is simply a pause, a moment to regroup, not evidence that you were never meant to move forward. Every person who has ever walked a meaningful path has faced moments of doubt, moments of exhaustion, moments where quitting felt easier than continuing. What separates breakthrough from stagnation is often simply the choice to keep going one more day. There is something deeply encouraging about knowing that this morning is not accidental. You were meant to hear these words today, not by chance, but because there is still purpose being formed in you, even in seasons that feel unclear. The delays you have experienced are not proof that you have been forgotten. They are often the quiet preparation for something you cannot yet see. Let this morning be a gentle reset, not because everything outside of you has changed, but because something inside of you is choosing once again to believe. Encouragement is not about pretending life is easy. It is about standing steady in the midst of difficulty, trusting that mercy meets you here, fresh and unearned, ready to carry you forward into whatever this new day was designed to hold. There is a quiet kind of hope that does not depend on circumstances lining up perfectly before it begins to grow. It is not loud, it does not announce itself with certainty about how things will unfold, but it stays steady and patient, even when the outward picture of your life looks uncertain. I want to speak gently into that today, because so many of us have confused hope with wishful thinking, when in truth, hope is something far more grounded, far more enduring. Hope is not the belief that everything will suddenly become easy. It is the quiet trust that you are not walking through this season alone, that whatever you are facing is not the final chapter, and that something is being worked out even in the waiting. Scripture reminds us that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. And I want you to notice the word renew. It suggests that strength was there before, was depleted, and is now being restored gently, gradually, not all at once, but enough for today. Maybe you have been holding on to hope for a long time, watching it grow thin with every past opportunity, every prayer that seemed to echo into silence, every situation that stayed exactly the same despite your best efforts. I understand how tiring that can be. I understand the temptation to stop hoping altogether, simply to protect yourself from further disappointment. But I want to remind you softly this morning that hope deferred does not mean hope denied. Delay is not the same as refusal. There is something sacred about choosing to hope again after disappointment, about allowing yourself to believe once more even when belief has cost you pain before. It would be easier in many ways to simply give up expecting anything good, to lower expectations so low that nothing can hurt you again. But that kind of protection comes at a price, closing off the very space where breakthrough is meant to grow. Hope, even fragile hope, keeps that space open. I want you to consider the quiet moments in your life where things shifted without warning, where a door opened after years of waiting, where an answer came in a way you never expected. These moments remind us that timing is rarely something we can predict or control, and that what feels delayed to us is not necessarily delayed in a larger sense. Sometimes the waiting itself is doing something in you that could not be accomplished any other way. Hope often grows quietly, in the ordinary moments, not in the dramatic breakthroughs we imagine. It grows in the decision to get up again after a hard week, in the willingness to pray even when the same request has been prayed 100 times before, in the small, almost invisible choice to keep believing that good is still possible. These moments do not feel significant in themselves, but together they form a kind of quiet resilience that carries you further than you realize. There may be situations in your life right now that feel completely stuck, relationships that seem unlikely to heal, health concerns that seem unlikely to improve, financial burdens that seem unlikely to lift. I want to gently remind you that stuck is often how things look right before they shift. What appears unmovable to us is not unmovable to Him. Hope does not require you to understand how change will come. It simply asks you to remain open to the possibility that it can. I think about how easy it is to measure hope by how we feel in a given moment, assuming that if we do not feel hopeful, hope has somehow failed us. But hope is not primarily a feeling. It is a decision renewed daily, sometimes hourly, to trust that your life is held by something greater than your current circumstances. You can feel discouraged and still choose hope. You can feel uncertain and still choose to believe that this is not the end of your story. There is comfort in remembering that hope has carried people through far harder seasons than this one. Every generation before us has faced moments that felt impossible, moments where the way forward was unclear, and yet history is filled with quiet testimonies of endurance, of faith that outlasted circumstances, of hope that eventually gave way to breakthrough. You are part of that same lineage of quiet perseverance, even when it does not feel that way. Perhaps today you are waiting for something specific, a restored relationship, a long-awaited answer, a change in direction that has not yet come. I want to remind you gently that waiting is not wasted time. Even in seasons that feel unproductive, growth is happening beneath the surface, much like a seed planted in soil, unseen for a long while before it breaks through. What looks like stillness to you may actually be the quiet work of preparation. Hope also means allowing yourself to imagine good things again, even after disappointment has taught you to guard your expectations. It is a gentle act of courage to picture restoration, to picture peace, to picture things being made right, without needing proof in advance that it will happen exactly that way. This kind of hope does not ignore reality. It simply refuses to let current circumstances have the final say over what is possible. I want you to think about the people who have hoped on your behalf, who have prayed for you even when you could not find the strength to pray for yourself, who have believed for your breakthrough during seasons when your own hope felt worn thin. That kind of support is a gift, a reminder that you are never carrying this entirely alone, even in moments that feel isolating. There is a difference between hoping in outcomes and hoping in the one who holds those outcomes. Circumstances can shift unexpectedly, plans can fall apart, timelines can stretch far longer than anticipated, but hope rooted in something deeper than circumstance remains steady even when the details remain unclear. This is the kind of hope I want to gently place before you this morning, not dependent on knowing how or when, but resting quietly in trust. Some of you have been strong for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to simply hope without needing to control the outcome. I want to remind you today that you are allowed to release that grip, even slightly. You are allowed to trust that you do not have to orchestrate every detail for good things to happen. Sometimes hope grows most freely in the moments we stop trying to force resolution and instead choose to rest in trust. Let this morning be a quiet reminder that hope is not naive and it is not weakness. It is one of the most resilient forces available to the human heart, capable of carrying people through seasons that logic alone could never explain. Whatever you are facing today, however uncertain the path ahead may seem, hope remains available to you, patient and steady, quietly inviting you to believe once more that good things are still possible, even now, even here, even in this. There is something quiet and sacred about speaking a blessing over someone's life, not as a formality, not as a routine phrase repeated out of habit, but as a genuine declaration that good is being invited into your day, your home, your circumstances. I want to speak that kind of blessing over you this morning, slowly, sincerely, The way one friend might speak life into another, not because the words themselves carry magic, but because they carry intention, and intention shapes the way we walk through our days. To be blessed does not mean life becomes free of difficulty. It does not mean every circumstance suddenly resolves itself, or every burden disappears overnight. Blessing is something deeper, something steadier. It is the quiet assurance that you are being watched over, that even in hardship, there is provision, there is presence, there is a covering over your life that does not depend on your circumstances looking perfect. This morning, I want you to receive that kind of blessing, not as something you have to earn, but as something freely given. May your home be covered in peace. Not the peace that comes from everything going smoothly, but the peace that remains steady even when things are uncertain. Peace that settles into a room even when tension has been present. Peace that allows you to rest at night without your mind racing through every unresolved worry. This is the peace that surpasses understanding, the kind that does not always make logical sense given the circumstances, but settles into the heart anyway, quietly, firmly, refusing to be shaken. May your body find rest, real rest, not just sleep, but the kind of rest that reaches into the places where stress has been quietly living for far too long. So many of us carry tension we are not even aware of. Tightness in our shoulders, shallow breathing, a mind that never fully powers down. I speak rest over you this morning, permission to let go, permission to stop bracing for the next difficulty, permission to simply exist without needing to be in constant motion. May your mind find quiet, especially in the moments when anxious thoughts try to take over, replaying old conversations, imagining worst-case scenarios, carrying tomorrow's worries into today. I want to remind you gently that you are not required to solve every problem in your mind before it happens. You are allowed to release those thoughts, to trust that today has enough grace for today, and that tomorrow will carry its own grace when it arrives. There is a blessing in restoration, in believing that whatever felt broken this past week, this past month, even this past year, can begin to be made whole again. Restoration rarely happens all at once. It is usually gradual, quiet, almost imperceptible until you look back and realize how far you have come. I speak restoration over relationships that have felt strained, over dreams that have felt distant, over parts of your heart that have grown weary from disappointment. The Lord is close to the broken-hearted. That closeness is not conditional on you having everything together first. It is not reserved for those who feel strong in their faith or confident in their circumstances. It is offered freely to anyone whose heart feels heavy, anyone who has been quietly struggling beneath a surface that looks composed to everyone else. If your heart feels broken in any way this morning, know that closeness, that nearness, is already surrounding you. I want to speak a blessing over your finances this morning, not as a promise of instant abundance, but as an invitation to trust provision, even in seasons of uncertainty. Whatever pressure you have been carrying around money, around bills, around decisions that feel overwhelming, I speak peace into that pressure. You are not walking through this season unnoticed. Provision has a way of arriving in unexpected forms, often just in time. Even when the waiting feels long, I want to speak a blessing over your relationships, the ones that feel strong and steady, and the ones that feel strained or distant. For those relationships that need healing, I speak gentle restoration, patience, and understanding. For those relationships that already bring you comfort, I speak continued depth, continued trust, continued growth. Relationships are often where we feel both our greatest joy and our greatest ache, and both deserve to be gently held in this moment. I want to speak a blessing over your health, whether that means physical strength, emotional stability, or mental clarity. For those carrying health concerns right now, I speak comfort and steady courage. For those feeling emotionally drained, I speak gentle renewal. Healing does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like slowly regaining strength, slowly feeling lighter, slowly noticing that the weight you have been carrying does not feel quite as heavy as it once did. There is a blessing available in your work, in your daily responsibilities, in the tasks that sometimes feel repetitive or unrewarding. I speak purpose into your effort this morning, reminding you that even in ordinary days, meaningful work is being accomplished. Seeds are being planted, character is being formed. Not every season feels significant while you are in it, but very few seasons are ever wasted. I want to speak a blessing over your faith, especially if it has felt fragile lately, especially if doubt has crept in more often than certainty. Faith does not need to be perfect to be real. I speak strength into the small, quiet moments where you choose to believe despite uncertainty, where you show up even when you do not feel particularly spiritual, where you keep praying even when answers have been slow to arrive. This blessing extends to your future as well, not with a demand that you know exactly what is coming, but with an invitation to trust that what lies ahead is being prepared with care. Whatever uncertainty you feel about tomorrow, whatever questions remain unanswered about next month or next year, I speak steady guidance over your path. You do not need to see the entire road. You simply need enough light for the next step. I want you to receive this blessing not as empty words, but as a genuine declaration spoken over your life this morning. You are covered. You are held. You are not forgotten, even in the seasons that feel silent. Whatever you carry into this day, carry it knowing that blessing has already been spoken over you, quietly working, quietly unfolding, even in ways you may not yet be able to see. Let this blessing settle into your spirit slowly. The way morning light gradually fills a room, not all at once, but steadily, gently, until everything feels a little warmer, a little softer, a little more hopeful than it did before. You are blessed this morning. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are deeply, unconditionally cared for, exactly as you are, exactly where you are, in this quiet and sacred moment. There comes a moment in every quiet time with God when words are no longer about explaining ourselves, no longer about presenting a well-organized list of requests, but simply about laying everything down. Surrender is not weakness, it is not giving up. It is choosing gently and honestly to release the grip we have been holding on to so tightly, trusting that we were never meant to carry it all alone in the first place. I want to walk through that with you now, slowly, sincerely, as we come into this final and deepest part of our time together. So much of our lives are spent trying to manage things, trying to control outcomes, trying to hold every piece together through sheer effort and willpower. It is exhausting, even when we do not fully realize how exhausting it has become. Surrender begins with an honest admission that we cannot do this alone, that our strength has limits, that our understanding is incomplete. This is not a defeat. It is often the doorway to the very peace we have been searching for all along, Lord. This morning we come to you just as we are, without pretending to have everything figured out, without hiding the parts of our hearts that feel tired or uncertain. You already know what we carry, the worries we have not spoken aloud, the fears we have tried to manage on our own, the disappointments we have quietly tucked away. We do not need to explain ourselves to you. We simply come, open and honest, ready to lay it all down. Thank you for this new day, and thank you for the new mercy that comes with it. We confess that we often carry yesterday into today, allowing old mistakes or old hurts to shape how we approach this morning. Help us release that weight now. Help us receive your mercy freely, not because we have earned it, but because it is who you are, faithful and unchanging, even when we are not. Quiet our anxious thoughts, Lord. So many of us carry minds that race long before our feet ever touch the floor, calculating, worrying, rehearsing conversations that have not even happened yet. We ask for stillness this morning, not because our circumstances have suddenly become simple, but because we are choosing to trust you with what feels complicated. Help us breathe a little slower, think a little softer, and rest a little deeper. Remind us that we belong to you, not defined by our productivity, not measured by how well we performed this past week, not shaped by the opinions of others or the pressures we place on ourselves. We belong to you simply because you created us, called us, and love us with a love that does not waver based on our circumstances. Let that truth settle deeply into our hearts this morning, quiet and unshakable. Heal what needs healing, Lord. You know the places in us that ache, the wounds we have carried for years, the disappointments that still linger beneath the surface, even when we appear composed on the outside. We do not ask for healing because we deserve it, but because we trust your gentleness, your patience, and your willingness to meet us exactly where we are. Begin that healing now, slowly, tenderly, in whatever way you know we need it most. Restore what needs restoring. Restore relationships that have grown distant, restore dreams that have felt forgotten, restore strength in places where we have grown weary. We do not need to see the entire process to trust that restoration is possible. We simply ask that you begin the work, even in small, quiet ways that we may not fully notice until we look back and realize how far we have come. Walk with us through this Sunday, and walk with us through every day that follows. We do not ask for a life free of challenges, but we do ask for your presence in the midst of them. Help us remember, in the busyness of ordinary days, that you are near, that you have not stepped away, that your closeness does not depend on our circumstances feeling easy or resolved. We surrender our worries into your hands this morning, Lord. The financial pressures that keep us anxious, the relationships that feel strained, the health concerns that weigh on our minds, the uncertainty about the future that we cannot always articulate clearly. We release these things, not because we no longer care about them, but because we trust that you are far more capable of handling them than we are. We surrender our need for control, Lord, the constant urge to plan every outcome, to protect ourselves from every possible disappointment, to manage every detail as though everything depended solely on us. Teach us to hold our plans loosely, to trust your timing even when it differs from our own, and to find peace in knowing that you are already working, even in ways we cannot yet see. We surrender our fears, Lord, the ones that keep us awake at night, the ones that make us hesitant to hope again after disappointment, the ones that whisper that things will never change. Replace those fears with quiet confidence, not confidence in our own strength, but confidence in your faithfulness, which has never once failed. Even in seasons that felt uncertain, we surrender our regrets, Lord, the choices we wish we could take back, the words we wish we had not spoken, the opportunities we feel we may have missed. Help us release the weight of what cannot be changed and instead focus on the grace available to us in this present moment. Teach us to walk forward without being anchored by what lies behind us. We trust that you are already working, even in the waiting, even in the silence, even in the seasons that feel unclear. Help us remain patient, not passive, but quietly attentive, watching for the ways you are moving even when progress feels slow. Strengthen our faith in the in-between moments, when answers have not yet arrived but your presence remains steady. In your gentle presence, we rest, Lord. Not because everything outside of us has been resolved, but because we are choosing this morning to trust you more than our worries, to trust you more than our fears, to trust you more than our need to understand every detail. Let this moment of surrender carry us gently into the rest of this day, steady, peaceful, and quietly held in your care.